Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Yep, live across the world on the internet. Hello. Good morning and welcome to the program. It is the Michael Dukes Show, again, broadcasting live across the world at MichaelDukesShow.com, where you'll find the audio-only live stream and, of course, all the social media links and everything else that we have for, simulcasting the show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And also, of course, across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Good morning and welcome to Hump Day. Today we've got a continuance of our candidate interviews. It's a series of candidate interviews, which is going to continue into the near future because, oh, baby, man, I got them lined up and we are knocking them down into October right now. And so it's going to be good stuff. So today on the program, we're going to be joined by two independents. In the first hour, we're going to be joined by Arthur Serkov, who is a Alaska Independence Party candidate for for Senate District Q, which is the seat currently held by Rob Myers up in the North Pole area. And then in hour two, we're going to be talking with Heather Herndon, who is an undeclared candidate in Senate District I, which is the deep blue district down there in the Anchorage, that the seat that was being held by Tom Begich and now has just the two opponents, Heather Herndon, the undeclared independent, and Loki Tobin, who is a Democrat and was the chief of staff there for Tom Begich in Senate District I. So it's going to be an interesting interview. If Monday was Blue Monday, then today is, I don't know, what color do they assign to the independents? Libertarians are yellow. I know that's the independent, or that's the libertarian color. So I don't even know what color you assign to, if it's red, blue, yellow. I mean, who knows? It's all undeclared independents today. It's Independence Day. That's what it's all about today. And so we're going to dive into that here shortly and get involved in that. And then late in the program, in the final segment of the show, we will open up the phone lines and give you folks a chance to, sound off on anything the candidate said or, whatever, your thoughts on what's happening and so on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at today. So, good morning and howdy. Let's get no rain this morning. I will report my weather report here from the Radio Ranch in the Matsu is that there was no rain, no active rain this morning. It was still damp, still wet. The dog was like, really? Do I have to? Yes, and yes, you do. And but there are at least no active rain this morning, and that's a positive as far as I'm concerned. A positive step in the right direction. Although it's cold. I don't know what it was cold. It was good. Had the window open, and it was a little cool this morning, unfortunately. Like 40 degrees. So, if it's not one thing, it's another. As I said earlier, at least it's not snowing at this point. So, all right. So, we get some headlines here this morning to dive into. And we'll get into that now. I'm sorry, I just looked in the chat room and Brian said, remind me again how all these Beggages are related. If you're talking about Nick Begich is the nephew of Mark Begich and the nephew of Tom Begich. His dad is Nick Begich as well. His dad is Nick Begich II. And of course, originally, his grandfather was originally a member of Congress who died back in the day. So if you're just wondering how all these Beggages, and of course, both he and his father are kind of the black sheep of the family because his father is a author and a kind of a libertarian, and his mother as well. I think his mother was a Republican. Anyway, Nick Begich is kind of the black sheep of the family. So that's where it comes down from. Coming down from a long line of black sheeps, apparently, because his dad was the same way. That's how I read the family genealogy for that slice of the family here this morning. All right, shall we get into it and take a look at some of the headlines that are going on around the state of Alaska? Some interesting information. There's been, for those of you who've been following this, I don't know how many of you have, but there's been a series of bear attacks in Palmer on various, animals. Turkey farm on Monday was the latest one hit and killed something like 20 turkeys or something, 20 turkeys and some chickens and some other stuff. And, of course, various livestock and facilities. Well, yesterday, troopers responded to a report of a bear attack on a human in the Matanuska lake area. Witnesses saw a man carrying a child away from the road with head lacerations, and the troopers confirmed that an adult male and a juvenile male came across a brown bear sow and her cub while hunting. The juvenile male sustained serious injuries and was taken to a Matsu area hospital for medical treatment. And the adult male was armed and shot and killed the sow bear during the attack. Troopers told reporters on the scene that the department will continue to investigate the situation. And they're going to come out with a fish and game biologist and do a full investigation and necropsy and find out what was going on here. They're not sure if this is the same bear who has killed dozens of chickens and attacked. There's been something like 18 different sightings of this bear in the Palmer Butte area, where it's everything from digging in trash and breaking into things to killing all those chickens and turkeys. So no report yet as to whether or not this is the same bear, but the people in the Palmer area, well, they're not. They can barely stand it. Again, they're keeping an eye out. Let's just put it that way. They're keeping an eye out, and hopefully this was the same bear. I guess that's the big thing. Now, normally we don't deal with national or international things, but this is a pretty big story, so I thought I'd at least poke it up into your attention so you guys could see it. Vladimir Putin has now ordered a partial mobilization of reservists in Russia, which is got some serious blowback opportunities inside of his own country, where many Russians have been supportive up until now. After the speech, there was a spike of plane ticket buying to get out of the country. Russian authorities have tried to recruit more fighters into volunteer battalions and more, and including widespread recruitment of prisons, according to rumors as well. But they're struggling to replenish their troop supply. The total of number of reservists that could be called up are as high as 300,000 reservists. They said they're going to focus on those with previous military experience to begin with, but all the different NATO leaders in the West have tweeted that the mobilization is a sign of weakness and Russian failure, an admission that the invasion itself is failing. Russia has lost the momentum in the initiative after the Ukrainian counterattack that started here just a week or 10 days ago, and they have been on their back heels ever since. Of course, a lot of the rhetoric comes back to the idea that they are fighting a proxy war with NATO, which, yeah, I mean, we may not be having troops on the ground, so to speak, but we are definitely supplying all the material and weapons and supplies over there. This is, and you could see how the disinformation in Russia continues to be very, very interesting. They are claiming that they have only had something like just under 5,000 casualties. Excuse me, just under 6,000 casualties, 5,900 casualties. Meanwhile, the Western estimates puts it in the tens of thousands range. And this just shows that, again, there are definitely some stress lines along the fight there, and that they're digging in for the long haul. But again, the fact that this could flip the Russians' general public's sentiment against the war is going to be very, very interesting to watch. And, it's been kind of, this thing's been going on for 7 months now, and you hardly even hear it mentioned in the news anymore. So this will be an interesting turn of events to see where it goes from here. But I thought you guys should at least know that that's what's going on. And finally, Anchorage judge says he's going to make a decision tomorrow morning whether Republican Rep. David Eastman is going to be eligible to appear on the general election ballot based on his life membership of Oath Keepers, which the paper, ADN, stresses is a far-right militia group. An appeal to the Alaska Supreme Court is expected regardless of his decision. Former Matsu Assembly member Randall Kowalski, according to the ADN, who filed the lawsuit, has argued leadership in the group runs afoul of the Alaska Constitution's disloyalty clause, which has never been tested in court. This will be a first. It bars a person from holding a public office in Alaska who advocates for the overthrow by force of the U.S. or the state government. The leader of the Oath Keepers and several affiliates have been charged or indicted for their alleged conduct in the January 6th riot attack on the Capitol. In an affidavit, Eastman said he has sworn on oath multiple times to defend the Constitution. He paid a life membership fee to the Oath Keepers in 2009, but said he has never attended a meeting and he can't find evidence online that the militia group is active. He did travel to Washington, D.C. in January of 21 to visit Alaska's congressional delegation and to hear former President Donald Trump speak on January 6th, but he denied being part of any violence or entering the U.S. Capitol, and nobody has shown any evidence of either one of those two things as well. They're trying to see if they can get him off the ballot, and we'll see what happens. Right now, Gail Fanumii, the Division of Elections Director, said that the ballots have already been printed and that the first set will start being mailed on Friday to 2,200 overseas and uniformed voters. She said there are security protocols preventing the state's voting tabulation machines from being reprogrammed to remove Eastman's name from the ballot in time for the November elections as well. Kowalski's attorney proposed an alternative for the judge if he does decide that Eastman is ineligible, including that voters be told by mail that if he is reelected, he won't be able to hold public office. Fanumii's affidavit said he could also be excluded from the ranked choice voting process, meaning votes for Eastman would go to the voters' next highest choices. The This is a troubling thing. I think Joe Miller's quote of the day is, "This is not public interest litigation. This is political advocacy." I think that's a pretty legitimate. I may not agree with Eastman in his amount of places, but I don't think anybody should be. Again, this is the slippery slope, and this is what they talked about in the legislature. I think it was Laddie Shaw that talked about it in the legislature, that what's to prevent somebody down the road from, if an organization becomes loses its mission or drifts or whatever, and you were a life member of, say, the NRA or GOA or some other organization, that you would then be ineligible because the leadership of that organization decides to go do something bad. I think that's a troubling, and you were a life member, you bought a life membership 10, 12, 15, 20 years ago. I think that's a problematic thing, to say the least. But hey, maybe that's just maybe that's just me. All right. We got to go. We're going to come back. Arthur Serkov is going to be our guest. He is Alaska Independence Party candidate for Senate District Q up in the interior. We're going to start over there. We'll be back. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
All right. Good morning in the break. Hi, and how are you? How you guys doing this morning? You ready to do this thing, to do the thing, all the stuff and the things? Yeah, me too. Let me get. I don't see Arthur Serkov in the green room yet, so let me double check and make sure that I didn't get an email that was. Come on, there you go. You get an email here to make sure that we've got everything squared away. Okay. There's only 108 emails in this chain. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure I'll be able to find everything. Okay. All right. So I've got his phone number just in case. It's right here in front of me. But we should be waiting here. Arthur should be joining us here in just a minute. And see what he has to say. Tell him to drop out for his country. Tell who to drop out for his country. Jerry is. You talking about Nick Begich, or are you talking about? I don't know. Susie, they're talking about Nick. I've met Nick in person 6 times. He's a catch-a-can. He's very conservative and pro-life. He leans conservative on some issues, says Jerica, but I've listened to him on talk shows and interviews and on many occasions over the last 3 years. I'm 100% believe he is more libertarian than conservative. You know, those two things are not mutually exclusive, right? I mean, you could be both a libertarian and a conservative. Good morning. I'm going backwards here. Okay. Man, I had a pear for breakfast this morning, and you know how they get a little astringent sometimes? I got a little bit of that stuck in the back of my throat. Okay. Well, I'm starting to get a little nervous here because I don't see Arthur in the green room, and I definitely don't want to be caught with my pants down here. So maybe we maybe we punch his number into the old phone system here and see if we can get him on the phone. We got about 2 minutes before we got to rejoin here. So let's try that, I guess, and see what he has to say on the phone. Hello. Well, I see the phone's on hold, off the hook. Are you there? Can you hear me, Arthur? Well, that's disappointing. I can see the phone is ticking away, but no audio. Let's try that again one more time, just in case somebody's in a bad location. Well, that means I can't hear anything. So, are you there? Are you there, Arthur? No, can't hear him. If you can hear me, Arthur, call me back. All right, we'll try that. But it's not looking good for the old Arthur Serkov interview here. Here we go, the Michael Luke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Well, hello, and welcome and good morning to the program. It is the Michael Luke Show, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station, and or translator, FM translator, for those of you who are wondering. I'm looking in my email now, because Arthur Serkov is not on the phone with us right now, or in the video chat room in the green room right now. I'm just going back through my emails to make sure. I mean, I've got a calendar invite out, so I know that I did send him a calendar invite. I'm just trying to figure out just trying to figure out if I missed an email or something that said, hey, where we're at and what's going on. Okay. Nope, it says right here, I'll see you next Wednesday. That was a week ago. All right, so I did have the time right. Well, maybe I didn't have the time right. I had the date right, but the time and the one time and the thing and the other thing. No, it's 6:24 to 8 Pacific time. Got it. I don't know. Okay, well, things happen and stuff and things. That's what goes on. So either Arthur will join us here in the near future or he won't. Otherwise, we will continue and expect Heather Herndon to be joining us here in the next hour on the program. So what does that mean? Well, I've got a couple other headlines that I could talk about, or I could just, open up the phone lines and take some calls for the next 25, 30 minutes because, that's how we roll. I say we do the phone calls. That's my favorite thing. I love that. All right. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take some phone calls because I deem it so. We're going to take some phone calls and see what you guys have to say on any of the topics that we've hit on this morning or anything new that you may want to talk about. Either one of those is good for me. I am ready, willing, and able to do any of those things. So let's take a crack at it, shall we? 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. If you would like to join us this morning, that's the number to call and give us a ring. Want to remind you that this hour of the program is being brought to you by your friends at Satellite West. You can find them at satellitewest.com on the internet. Now, they are your solution people for anything that has to do with communications in the state of Alaska, whether that's, phone communications, internet, email, text messaging. If you're in remote locations, Satellite West can get you hooked up to the Iridium satellite network, and you can do all of those things. Internet, again, text messaging, phone calls, email, the whole thing, all of it. Just go to satellitewest.com and check those details out there. Special thanks to them for sponsoring the show across the state of Alaska this morning on the radio and across all over the place. So, okay. I said Pacific. It's 6:24 a.m. Alaska, 7:24 a.m. Pacific. So for those of you that's what is going on. All right. So what else is going on? I saw an interesting opinion piece this morning that caught the headline of it, the title of it caught my attention. And so I had to go out and read it this morning. And the headline reads, Sarah Palin has cracked the code for electing Democrats in Alaska, which is some serious shade being thrown out there. Paulette Simpson is the author of this. She is the past president of the Alaska Federation of Republican Women. And she lives down in Juneau. And she's got this piece in there, which tells kind of an interesting story. It tells an interesting story of the election back in 2006, and of the race against Governor Frank Murkowski and Sarah Palin as they were duking it out in the primary. Now, Palin won that primary, garnering almost 51% of the vote in the primary in a three-way between Murkowski, John Binkley, and Sarah Palin. It goes on to tell the story of Palin and how the Republicans in her neck of the woods, I guess, said that they were leery of a 42-year-old former Wasilla mayor becoming governor because I don't know, too young. I don't know exactly why, but she said, uncomfortable with the prospect of the 42-year-old former Wasilla mayor becoming governor, some Republicans bolted to join the party of Tony Knowles or back the independent candidacy of Andrew Halcrow, both of which would have been disastrous, quite honestly. But anyway, for many duty-bound Republicans, she said that the Knowles term was never an alternative, and they liked the fact that Palin had Sean Parnell as a running mate, who is a well-respected former legislator who knew how to get things done in Juneau, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, this whole story is very interesting because it breaks down the whole issue of what was going on at the time, what was happening, and then the fact that they watched that Sarah Palin kind of, imploded after the whole deal. They said in 2008, she threw Ted Stevens under the bus. She tried to help unseat Don Young. In 2014, she betrayed her loyal Lieutenant Governor Parnell by endorsing Bill Walker. And then finally, I think this was the thing that was too spicy for them to even contemplate. Finally, in August 16th of 2022, the special election, Palin refused to promote a rank the red strategy to keep the congressional seat in Republican hands. At least for now, a Democrat has it. And I think this is the biggest mistake of the entire of the entire race. And this is not just a Sarah Palin thing. This is although Nick Begich has said that he will rank Sarah Palin second, and she has not commiserated with, she has not agreed with that. I think that's part of the big problem here. Somebody said, well, she's not saying don't rank Nick Begich. No, what she's saying, and what some of the comments that I've seen have been, just vote like it's regular. Don't vote like it's ranked choice. Just vote like it's regular, which means vote for your one candidate and be done with it. And that is why I don't remember I told you what the number was the other day. Something like 40, was it over 40%? It was like 42% of Palin voters were bullet voters. That was the numbers that when the numbers came in and the breakdown happened, 42% of Palin voters were bullet voters, meaning that they voted for Sarah Palin and no one else. Now, it didn't matter because she wasn't eliminated, but if it had, I mean, if she had been, that would have been telling. And this is the problem. Here's the main problem on this whole thing. And I know people are probably sick of me talking about it, but I'm just going to keep doing it, because until we learn, this is what's going to happen. We may not like the game, right? We may not like the politics and the way politics is being played right now. We may not like the game, but we damn well better play the game unless we just want to get slaughtered. Right? We may not like how it turned out. We may not want to participate by do all those things, and we'll just stand here and stamp our feet and say no, we're not going to participate. But unless we play the game, we're never going to win. Because as long as they have the horsepower to rig the game, to rig it so that the game is being played, we are never, ever going to win. And I'm talking specifically now about the ranked choice voting. I mean, I find it astonishing, even though Nick Begich said that he was encouraging people to rank the red, to vote for him and then vote for Sarah Palin if you couldn't, as your second choice or whatever. A full 20% of his ballots only ranked Nick Begich. Now, whether that because it was anti-Palin sentiment, or it was being rankled by the ranked choice voting, or whether it was just people misunderstanding how the whole system worked, I don't know. Any one of those things could be true. But unless we play the game, then we have got a real problem, because we're never going to win. You got to hold your nose sometimes and do the right thing. Did I want to vote in ranked choice voting? No. Did I do it? Yep. And Chris By, number 1, the Libertarian write-in candidate. Nick Begich, number 2. Okay. Sarah Palin, number 3. Do I want Palin? I mean, not particularly. I'm just like, it's not that I don't, I don't think she's the best candidate for the job. And I'm going to do the same thing in November. Chris By, Nick Begich, Sarah Palin. So, I mean, what's the problem? If we don't play the game, we're never going to. If we don't play within the framework of the game, I'm not saying that you can't. It's like, can you cheat in Monopoly? I don't know. I'm not saying you don't have to be happy about it. But by God, we should be working it out together. I mean, I just, it's going to be interesting to watch, to say the least. But you get a chance to go in there and make your choice. But for the love of God, at least rank your conservative voters, rank the people that you believe. And I mean, I would say rank the red, but I mean, I'm also ranking the yellow, because I've got Chris By on my list, he's going to get my first vote. Now, I know people say, somebody in the chat room just said it's a non-factor that good. Well, that's what ranked choice voting is supposed to be about, right? I can vote my conscience and then vote for the lesser of evils on the other side of it. So, I mean, there you go. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to vote for Chris By, and he'll, if he gets a couple percentage points, then great. And then he'll be eliminated and his will roll over to the next round. And then the real ranking will begin from there. Okay. But I'm going to fill out every possible candidate that I could swallow at least. That's the thing. Did I hear that Michael Dukes was accused of cheating on Monopoly? Only when I was the banker. Only when I was the banker did I do that. All right, Andrew, Arthur Serkov is, I see that he's popped up in the green room here. And so we're coming up on the break, and we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we will dive into it with him. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Dukes Show continues. It is your home for common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more right after this.
Now you're cooking with gas. The Michael Dukes Show.
All right, Arthur Serkov joining us now. I see him in the green room, so let's go over there and see what he has to say. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Michael. Pretty good. About yourself?
Good. Sorry, I thought. Yeah, go ahead.
I apologize. Popped in a little bit late.
Yeah, no problem. I was trying to reach you on the telephone too, and I couldn't. I don't know. It kept picking up, and I couldn't hear anything. So I wanted to make sure that I had the right day, and I went back and I looked, and I did. So I'm just making. I got a lot of balls in the air with all these candidates wanting to get on. Wanted to make sure that I hadn't messed up a day. So we're going to have about 12-15 minutes here when we come back, Arthur. So we're going to try and squeeze a lot into that. I've got another guest right after the top of the hour. Otherwise, I would keep you over a little bit. And we could try and do that there. But if you're ready to jump in, then I'm ready to do it.
I'm ready to jump in.
Okay, good. We'll hold the line here. I'll be right back to you. I'm going to put you back in the green room. Don't go anywhere. And we will continue here in just a second. All right, folks, make sure that you like and follow the show page, and make sure that you do all the YouTube-y things and everything else. That is the best way to participate on the program and to be able to be up to date and up to speed, so to speak, on everything that's going on around there. We appreciate you guys being part of it. Coming up on tomorrow's program, we're going to be joined by Kathy Hensley, who's running for the seat in downtown Anchorage, and Louis Flora, who is going to be joining us. He is down in Homer running against Sarah Vance. So it's going to be an interesting show tomorrow for sure as we get into things. All right, let me come back to the chat room here and make sure that see what you guys have had to say this morning. The majority of Alaskans are nonpartisan. They're not Democrats or not Republicans. Yeah, I mean that's yes. Tell me something I don't know. Alaskan votes a person ideas and not the party platform. Again, tell me something I don't know. Going back here, I'm sick and tired of people saying Nick is a rhino. He's not. Nick is very conservative. Palin is not campaigning in Alaska. 90% of her spending is out of state, not in Alaska. I rank Palin second, even though it made me sick to do it. I mean, I didn't make me sick to do it. I just don't think that she's the choice for me, but I did rank her. I ranked her third. Chris By, Nick Begich, Sarah Palin. That's what I did. You guys do you. Eskimo Libertarian says, don't forget the gold. Chris By is also on the ballot. Yeah, and he's not a write-in candidate this time around. He's not a write-in candidate this time around, which is good. I got to rank the red push poll last night, said Chris from Twitch. How'd you answer? She has also come out saying that Nick needs to drop out. That's his personal choice. I mean, if you were desperate to only get a Republican in there, then that move would make sense. If all you were looking for was to get an R in the seat, then that would make sense because he doesn't have the votes to overcome her at this point. But that's a personal choice. If that's all you care about is getting the R in the seat, getting the elephant in the seat, then that's it. If you care about policies and if you care about other things, then it's a whole nother deal. Okay. The problem is not on his end. Since I tried calling, I was getting on through here. I'm Arthur's neighbor. The problem is not on his end. Since I'm Arthur's neighbor, I get what he is going through to get on here. I don't know what's going on. I teased an Alaska Airlines story my dad says on Monday, but not get to it. I'll come back to that. That was the woke Alaska Airlines story. Remind me, Dad, and I'll come back to it. All right. Arthur Serkov is our guest. We're jumping back into it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like it, share, like and follow. Let's get this thing going on with Arthur Serkov, shall we? Here we go. Of course, I pushed the wrong timer. So there's really like another 50 seconds going on there. You don't want to have to listen to 50 seconds of music. So I'll get back to it. Can you post the link? Can you post that link, Michael? Susie asked me to post a link about 10 minutes ago, Susie, and I'm not sure which link that you're talking about. I'll have to go back and look at it. Oh, is that the opinion piece that you were looking for? Let me post the opinion piece. This is the opinion piece in the ADN that was Palin cracked the code for electing Democrats. There you go. I just posted it. I hope that's what you were looking for. All right, we'll try this again. You ready? Here we go. One more time. Let's do it now. All right, welcome back to the program. Continuing now, Arthur Serkov joins us. Arthur is independent candidate for Senate District Q, which is up in the interior. That is the seat currently being held by Rob Myers. He's an Alaska Independence Party candidate, and he comes on the program this morning to talk with us. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Michael. I'm fantastic. How are you?
Well, you know what? Just a beautiful day in paradise. Thanks for coming on board. We're kind of having abbreviated time here because I know that because we got top of the hour and I've got a guest coming up in the next hour. So let's get right into it. Who are you? Where are you? Where do you come from? Why the Alaska Independence Party? Go. Who's Arthur Serkov?
So I'm Arthur Serkov. I grew up in Delta. Then I moved to Vancouver, Washington for a few years, and then I moved back to Alaska in early 2017, and I've gotten very involved in with the Alaska Independence Party 2 years ago. I felt that they most accurately represent my values, so basically now I'm running under their platform, and I'm a carpenter by trade, do carpentry full time. That's pretty much it. The thing that I'm most passionate about, probably within the party, and what I'm running about, most importantly, is I published an article about this, is the silver PFD, the question of the dollar and the permanent fund dividend being tied to the dollar. And with it being tied to the dollar, if the dollar goes under, the PFD goes under, and we're all broke. So I just nobody's really talking about this. Nobody said, hey, let's put 10% into gold. Let's put 10% into silver. Let's get some sovereignty in our in our into the territory of Alaska, fiscal sovereignty.
Right.
So I'm just bringing this up,
So you're talking about backing a portion of the permanent fund with precious metals or some other hard commodity that will retain its value. Is that what your point is?
Something like that. I mean, just getting some gold or silver, physical gold or silver, into the territory, percent whatever. Just something that, just in case the dollar enters a scenario where it devalues, it potentially can default. Some kind of situation where if the dollar goes under, we're not broke.
Right. What was the one thing? I mean, the being involved in politics is a big thing, but there's a difference between being involved in politics and then leaping feet first into a legislative race. What was there a single thing that pushed you over the edge, or is this just kind of a natural progression for you? Was there one thing? What caused you to want to jump into the race specifically as a candidate? What was the final straw, so to speak?
Well, I wouldn't say that there's like a final straw. For instance, I rather like Rob Myers. I respect him immensely. I more did it as I realized that to meet people, to have a reason to get the word out there. You can't just be like a normal guy that's a member of a party. You need to be running. Then they're like, oh, okay, well, what do you believe in? And as I talk to people, I found that, for instance, many people are rather receptive to the idea of a silver PFD, but just that's what I'm really passionate about right now.
Okay. Well, yeah, because it's not something that, I mean, I've been following the PFD and the debate around it and that kind of stuff for years, and I've never heard a discussion on the silver PFD before. So that's an interesting component. Have you had a chance do you have any positions on any of the other things? I mean, the PFD, I'm assuming that you would support a full statutory PFD. Is that part of what you're, aside from making it, kind of protecting it from the vagaries of a fiat currency, do you have a position on the PFD itself? Should it be full statutory? Should we be following the law? Should we be repealing SB 26? Should we be getting back pay, or should we be using a 50-50 split? What's your take on where the PFD needs to be?
Well, I think that it's it should be a full PFD, and I believe that basically the state of Alaska should have no position, no right to even legislate on every single session. That money is originally intended to go to Alaska, as a proxy for the fact that they gave away their mineral rights. Should we ever, as freedom seeking individuals, achieve mineral rights for the citizens of Alaska again, I think that we should just take that PFD, distribute it, the whole thing, to the people, and call it a day. The problem right now is that it's the state, which by and large is overspending ungodly, only knows how to spend more money. That's just the nature of any state. So instead of cutting their costs, they're just biting into the PFD, because it's a nice fat chunk of money that the citizens have no direct control over. So they kind of they basically steal from it slowly.
Right. It's the low hanging fruit, right? I mean, it's the low hanging fruit,
Right.
easy to get at. It's an easy pot of money to dip out of. And of course, they're, the top 20% never feel it when the PFD gets taken. But the rest of the folks who are the 80% and lower income earners, they're the ones that feel the bite on that.
Of course.
Yeah. You mentioned that the state spending is out of control. I think you and I would be in agreement on that. And there's always ways to cut. Have you looked at other, sections of the budget? Have you looked at where you think that we could be talking about cuts? I mean, education, health and social services, programs, nonprofit bonuses, giveaways. What do you think? What do you think are some of the places that we can get to here to cut in.
I think that we can cut into just about every budget. I believe, for instance, on health and social services, it's my firm opinion that in the United States, as a broad United States, but in Alaska especially, a system that has health insurance, health insurance in general, basically says that somebody is profiting off of the sickness of others. That is basically cutting into, in my opinion, that somebody is making a sizable profit off of people being sick. You basically you kind of have two options. You let the free market determine medical care, which currently is illegal, or you give people healthcare, just a state mandatory healthcare, statewide healthcare, the basic necessities healthcare. That's about healthcare. About education, I believe, I also firmly believe that you fired half the damn people across the board. A lot of the issues with education is it's a lot more about compliance with regulations, with federal teaching schedule, with basically with No Child Left Behind policies that permeate into the entire educational system. And if you look at the consumption of the budget, it's I believe 60-70% of our educational budget goes towards staff, towards people who don't interact with the children at all.
Right. Not in the teachers, right? It goes to not to the classroom. It goes to the overhead, right?
Correct.
Go ahead.
That overhead it serves the citizens of Alaska nothing. It does no benefit to them.
Arthur, unfortunately, we're coming up on it. I got it less than a minute here. Give us your elevator pitch on why people should vote for Arthur Serkov for Senate District Q.
Well, I mean, the only reason that somebody should vote for me, I've just kind of used the election to meet with people, talk to people. Maybe in future elections, I'll go a little bit more serious. But if they believe that the dollar is on its last legs, that if we have 5, 10, 15 years until the dollar itself collapses, then they should vote for me because I will definitely fight to get sovereign silver, gold into the territory of Alaska, so that dollar collapses, we have some fiscal power as a state.
All right, Arthur Serkov, thank you so much for coming on board and joining us. We appreciate that, and we look forward to seeing how you guys how you do in the upcoming election. We appreciate you being part of it, folks. Hour 2 dead ahead. All right, Arthur, I'll give you one final bite at the apple here because we're in the commercial break, so we got about 2 minutes. Any final thoughts here, or anything else? Anything else you wanted to cover that we didn't hit today? We got about 2 minutes here.
In general, and one of the reasons why I'm in the Alaska Independence Party, not the Libertarian Party, is I just am strongly for any kind of independence. So for me, the big three are fiscal, food, and energy. I believe that the Federal Food and Drug Administration's jurisdiction and rules and regulations cause significant problems for selling local Alaskan like wild protein on Alaska markets. You can't. Somebody can't organize a giant caribou hunting and then selling it through Fred Meyer, selling it through a major store.
Right.
I believe that that's because of federal regulations, the FDA, and I believe that the state of Alaska should be handling that in-house. All of their food and drug questions.
Like the DEC and stuff like that, people who have goats and chickens should be able to sell the milk or the eggs or whatever. Is that you believe that that's part of the deal as well? Food security.
Correct. Well, I believe that an Alaska commission should determine that, but the federal FDA should get its paw out of that, because the federal FDA is bought completely by whoever's lobbying it, much more powerful people in the lower 48.
Right. All right. Well, Arthur, I appreciate you coming on. Do you have a website or anything where to describe your views or your points or your silver PFD? You got anything out there?
No, I mean, if you Google silver PFD, you'll find a bunch of articles with me talking about it, but that's about it.
Okay. All right. Well, Arthur, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for joining us this morning. And we look forward to hearing what you have to say again here in the future. Thank you for being part of it today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Michael.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. That's Arthur Serkov, candidate again for State Senate in District Q, which is up in the interior. Now we move down to Anchorage, and we're going to talk with our next guest, who is the only independent candidate or undeclared candidate, I guess, in District I, which is in the heart of Anchorage. And that is a seat that has historically been held by Tom Begich, who decided not to run for re-election. Heather Herndon right now is in the green room. I could see her there. Let's test her audio and see how she's doing this morning, get things squared away. Good morning, Heather. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Good. Let me turn you down just a little bit. You are loud and proud this morning, so it's good. You've had your coffee. You're good to go. All right. Well, Heather, we're about 3.5 minutes from rejoining the radio, which is where we're going to start off here in just a minute. It's just me and you and 48 of our closest friends on Facebook this morning. And so hopefully you're coffeeed up and ready to go.
Yes.
Okay, good. She's all good. All right. Well, I'm going to put you back in the green room here for just a second. So hold the line. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to you, and we'll start things off here after we play the theme song and all the stuff we got to do here on radio. Willie Keppel says in the chat room, I always thought that our mined resource percentage should be at the smelter, and a percentage of mined minerals should be held by the state as a hedge against the collapse of the dollar, not to mention keeping all the profits from going straight to the general fund. I was not against that. I spoke to Governor Parnell about that back in the day. I talked to him about potentially, talking about why don't we mint an Alaska coin? Why don't we mint an Alaska coin in gold and silver? First of all, as a collectible, I think that would be very interesting. And second of all, it's always good to have a little bit of a hedge against, fiat. As we continue to borrow more and more money and we see what goes on, and we've seen countries like Brazil, Russia, India, and China, the BRIC nations, we saw them try to create a breadbasket currency here a while ago. The dollar is only good as long as it has supremacy. And as long as it's the world reserve currency, it is stable per se. But the minute that another currency goes in to take their place, or a breadbasket currency takes that place, that's when you get some serious inflationary. You think this inflation's bad. Wait till you see the dollar get knocked off as the world reserve currency. Oh, baby. That would be, that's like Weimar Germany kind of stuff. That's what's going on. All right. Let me go here and see what you guys are talking about. Not true in Fairbanks, says Jennifer. Teachers and ESSA take up nearly all of the budget. Admin is a small percentage. Well, if that's the case, Jennifer, that is the exception and not the rule, because we've seen in the state of Alaska, 40% of the dollars, 43%, I think, of the dollars make it into the classroom, which means that 57% are taken up by overhead. So that's definitely a change and a problem. I'm scrolling backwards here to see what else you guys have to say about anything that came through. Susie said, I want a conservative in the seat. She's talking about the U.S. House seat. If voters don't wake up, there will be a liberal Democrat in our only U.S. House seat, and you can kiss Alaska goodbye. Keep playing games, and that's what you'll get. And that's what I've been saying. I'm saying you have to play the game. You have to rank all the candidates that are available. And I think it was Brian that said it was amazing to him. It was Robert on YouTube who said, I still don't understand the 15K Begich voters who ranked Peltola second. Bullet votes make more sense than that. I mean, 26% of his votes went to Peltola in the second round, and 20% just didn't rank anybody else. I'm shocked as well. I don't know if there's just some confusion over the Begich name, and maybe The secondary votes, I don't know. I can't even answer it. I can't answer it. I think the bottom line is, though, we have to continue to, if we want more conservative voices, we need to rank conservatives. Not just one and done. You've got to rank as many as you can. All right, we're coming up on it. About ready to start. Heather Herndon is our guest. We're going to get some details from her here in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Here we go.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Across the world on the interwebs at michaeldukeshow.com, where you'll find the audio-only live stream and links to all my social media accounts and places where we simulcast the radio show every morning, including Facebook and YouTube and Twitch. And, of course, across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or translator. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to Hour 2 of the Michael Duke Show, continuing now on our candidate interview series. We're trying to interview as many candidates as we can between now and Election Day. And boy, we got some serious response when we sent the letters out. Lots and lots of people. We're booking out into October now, and you'll be hearing from as many candidates as I can physically squeeze into the show between now and then. We finished up with Arthur Serkov in the last hour, and now we're going down from Fairbanks down to Anchorage to Senate District I, which is in the heart of Anchorage. That's a seat that was previously held by Tom Begich. And right now we're going to be joined by Heather Herndon, who is a non-declared, nonpartisan candidate, independent candidate for the state house or for state senate in District I. And she joins us right now. Good morning, Heather. How are you? Good
morning, Michael. How are you?
You know, it's a beautiful day.
Well.
Every day above ground is a good day. That's what they say. So,
right.
So Heather, first, let's talk about, who you are, where you came from, and we'll get a little bit of background on you first before we dive into some of the deeper into the pool stuff.
Okay. Well, I'm fourth generation Alaskan, and we've been in Anchorage for 50 years in the same house, which is in my district that I'm running for. District I is downtown Anchorage, Government Hill, Fairview, and J-Bear, so the joint base of Elmendorf and Army Fort Richardson.
All right.
I have a background in construction. I have a real job. I have accredited degrees. I have a master's in finance and accounting, and I am definitely from Alaska. And don't let my Aunt Susie Dotson tell you any different.
Your Aunt Susie Dotson's out there taking care of you. Fourth generation. I'm only third generation, but my family's been here since 1916. So you got me legged up here on one more generation there.
Yes, you were out in Big Lake, right?
No, we were up in the interior. My family comes from the interior. My folks, my great grandfather, up on American Creek, out towards Manly Hot Springs, north of Fairbanks. That's where my family got started back in the day.
Fantastic. Yes,
yeah,
great.
So, Heather, tell us again. Construction. You came to this. Have you been politically active? Is this your first foray? Give us a little bit of your experience with politics. What's your take here?
Well, I ran for mayor of Anchorage, but I had no idea that it was a $600,000 price tag.
Right.
I only spent $4,000, but I received about 500 votes.
Right. You got a few in there as well. What made you jump? This is the question that I love to ask. When exactly did you lose your mind? What exactly, made you want to jump into politics of all things in the state of Alaska? What was it? Was it a single thing? Was it a continual buildup of little things, or was there like one single aha moment where you said, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore," kind of thing?
Well, my family used to be Republicans until President Bush went on TV and started talking about the New World Order. Then we looked at ourselves. I was sitting in the kitchen with my dad, and they said, "We're not doing this." So we went undeclared from there. And now it has been a slow buildup of different things we've seen in the news, and not the mass media. I mean,
Right.
the word of mouth kind of news
Right.
of what's going on in the world. And it just, somebody has to take the helm. And
Right.
why not somebody who's been here for 15 generations in North America and has 7 tribes in their family?
Right.
Why shouldn't that be the person? At least give them a chance.
Right.
I don't understand. In the primary, there was 1,104 Republicans that didn't vote for me. They voted for the candidates in U.S. Congress, but they didn't vote for the local. And
Right.
Republicans now outmatch the Democrats in downtown Anchorage. I would think that this is the time. I couldn't change my candidacy back to being a Republican. I mean, now that Liz Cheney's gone and we're kind of clearing them out now of these Republicans that we didn't agree with, I mean, I can come back to the Republican Party. But yes, it has been a slow buildup, and I just can't.
Oh, we just lost Heather. Whoop, she's coming back. There we go. We got her again. All right, Heather. Well, let's talk for a minute here about some of the big things, the big issues. I'm assuming you've been walking your district and talking to your constituents and doing things like that. What are your constituents saying in the downtown Anchorage area? What are they saying that they are concerned about? What are the big hot issues with your constituents in your area?
Well, it's been no new taxes. I got that one pretty fair and clear from the realtors, because they don't want prices disclosed so that there could be new taxes on property. They don't want that. I'm for that. No new taxes, absolutely not. And
wait, did we just read your lips? No new taxes, or is that?
That's right. I know, but I'm not quoting him.
I know. So no new taxes. What else?
So the school district having the money follow the child, and not necessarily just being part of a school budget and going with their critical race theory. We're not doing that.
Right.
And
okay.
we've never done that before. All this stuff just kind of came in here in a very colonistic kind of way, because I grew up here. I lived it. I went to these schools. I went to Fairview Elementary, which is now a brand new school because they tore it down and built a new one. But still, they've changed our culture. And I'm just completely annoyed by that. Not just the monetary, the things we were promised from the PFD. Absolutely, everybody gets their PFD.
Right.
We were promised the moon as Alaskan children, and we didn't get anything.
Right.
I was very fortunate to have gone out of state to acquire an education from an accredited university, unlike Tom Begich. Sorry, I have to say that.
Okay.
And I went to Scotland. I learned so much, and I'm bringing it back now to Alaska.
Right.
So,
the PFD is obviously a big issue for folks on this show, and it sounds like for your constituents as well. When you say, having a PFD and guaranteeing a PFD, are you talking about, because there's always a different definition, right? It's a sustainable PFD, or it's a PFD we can afford, or it's the statutory PFD. Where's Heather Herndon sit on this scale? I mean, are you for, a sustainable or a statutory or a leftover? What PFD are you in favor of?
the one that's earned during the time period. So and not having it managed by BlackRock. I know that the staff, who is the chief of staff for like the legislature, was arguing with me, but the Wall Street Journal, sorry, I did read it. The Wall Street Journal said BlackRock was aiming to take care of manage our permanent fund, and I'm against that. But whatever it earns in that year, the previous year, is what should be distributed.
So you're talking about following the law, the statutory law, right? I mean, that's the whole
Yes.
point here, right? Okay. So following a statutory PFD and protecting the corpus of the fund, I'm assuming, as well. Does that include a revocation of SB 26, the POMV law? Is that something that's on your radar?
We have too many laws as it is. We need to go back. I want to go back every 10 years. We need to go back and revisit what we passed 10 years ago and see if it's still relevant. So, no, I'm just solely for the statutory PFD, that it's paid out what it's earned
Right.
that year, and no garnishment on it, no adding stuff to it.
Well, since SB 26 directly conflicts with the PFD statute, I would assume that would mean that you probably are in favor of revoking that. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other deeper issues. Now, you said you have a master's in finance. Is that correct?
Master's in finance and accounting, yes.
Okay. So it sounds like you would be uniquely qualified to take a look at the budget and decide, if there's some nickels and dimes that could be picked up in there. Have you had a chance to go over any portions of the state budget yet? Have you looked at it? Have you taken a look at this year's and last year's budget to try and get a feel for where things may be going in the future?
Well, really, right now I've started with the educational system. So from Head Start, what we're paying per capita, whether it's federal money or state money, it's between 16,000 to 35,000 per student. And what are they learning for that amount of money? And are we getting the best talent to teach us up in Alaska, and supporting ANSEP as well for STEM programs, science, technology, engineering, math, and architecture, as I love.
Right, for the construction industry, right. We continue to pour ever expanding amounts of money into our educational budget, which is the second largest budget item, right behind health and social services in the state. And yet we continue to have some of the lowest scholastic scores in the nation, right? I mean, we're 48th, 49th, 50th in math, reading, science. We have a 1 in 4 never graduate. 25% of our students, 24% of the students, they don't graduate, even with the kind of the low scholastic scores that we've got. Is more money the answer in the education system in your mind, or is it we need to fundamentally change how we do education?
Yes. And I want to do a little sales pitch because Dennis, who is, I spoke with the heads of 15 of the unions, and they said that they are looking for people in their union schools. So they said that to me, so I'm going to make good on it, because I said I wanted to see more 574 Social Security numbers on their payroll. That's what I said. Why are you against the Republican side? Why are you against the conservative side? We'll give you the same deal. We want you to make money. We want you to have a house and food on the table and support your family. So you don't always have to go with some other political party that is asking for your soul too.
Right.
You don't need to do that, because I'll give you the same thing. So in speaking to them, they told me to bring them people. So I will bring them people.
You'll bring them some candidates. Yeah, bring them some people. When you look at the education budget right now, and of course we were just talking about this a minute ago, that in the university it's something like only 19 or 20% of the dollars actually reach into the classroom. In the K through 12, it's like 46, 44, somewhere in that mid 40 percentile range of the dollars are actually reaching into the classroom. So it sounds like, based on just those numbers, that we have a lot of overhead that's being sucked up, a lot of the dollars being sucked up by the overhead, administratives, and things like that. Do you think that's a good place to start as far as finding some efficiencies in government?
Yes. And when the earthquake hit us in Anchorage, it was all the school buildings that had issues. So the way they were constructed, and that's something else too. I don't know the overhead for the building itself. And are those classrooms empty? Because people are homeschooling now, and quite right.
Right.
And certainly I believe in money going towards homeschooling. Whatever the parent decides is best for their child. I'm not for parents patre of the court deciding what's best for you and your child. So that is another issue that should I be elected, I would be facing as well.
Heather Herndon is our guest candidate for state senate in District I. We're going to continue with her here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show continues. It is your home for common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll continue again with our candidate interviews. Heather Herndon, our guest. We'll be back with more in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Back with more right after this.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, we're in the break right now. Commercial break rolling here. Heather Herndon is our guest here, candidate for state senate in District I. As we go through, you said you're focusing on education, but have you had a chance to peel into any other parts of the budget, or as you've been watching, I'm assuming you've been watching the process in the legislature for the last couple of years. Any thoughts as other areas that you might want to tackle as you get into this at the state level?
Well, I have some things I want to explore. Rather than build a railroad and wipe out more of the moose population, I want to I want to see if some of the vehicles that have been in the military, if they couldn't be used for civilian use. That's one of the things. Transportation, certainly that's the highest cost when it goes out to rural Alaska. For downtown Anchorage, the school district, the things that are important here, but it's beyond Anchorage. I would like to speak to the farmers out in the valley as well, because I know we can only feed 40,000 people for a week in Alaska. And prior to that, you were speaking about a breadbasket currency of coins minted here in Alaska for gold and silver, which I spoke about that in front of that was one of my answers to the union question when they sent me their questionnaire. And I agree. I think we should do that just as a precaution. And they said, well, you're not supposed to print your own currency as a state, but there's a provision for gold and silver. And then there's also the 10th Amendment, and we need to start exercising that more.
Right. Well, and as I said earlier, my suggestion to Governor Parnell, I mean, geez, this is 15 years ago, was that you create an Alaska minted coin in gold and silver, and it could be multiple denominations of gold and silver, and you market them as collectibles so that people buy them and they have a piece of Alaska, Alaskan gold, Alaskan silver. And then if anything ever did happen, you would have the ability to either ramp that up or have those in circulation and use them. In that regard as well. I mean, you got you got South African cougarans. Why couldn't you have an Alaskan Nanook gold piece or something like that? It could be done, and it would be a potential hedge against any kind of monetary problems for sure. As far as getting things out to the villages, I'm often wondering if we're missing the boat. Obviously, a road is a very reliable and steady means of transportation, but it's also, as you point out, very expensive. Deshana and I have talked about, Deshana's in the chat room, and she said this, she says immediately, she says airships, yes. I mean, dirigibles, and there's other technology. I don't know why we're not exploring all of these things to be able to do that kind of stuff. It's hard to get out of your lane. Once you're in the lane and you're in the track to do something, it's hard to get out of there. And sometimes you need fresh ideas to come to the table.
Yes, and the mining industry as well. I understand that the people around Pebble Mine have said no, and that should be respected, but there's other parts of Alaska. I mean, Susie Dawson could certainly tell you about Bocan Mountain and rare earth minerals being mined in Ketchikan. But the major concern is all those tailing ponds, because that's ruined rivers and water sources and our wildlife and everything. So
sure,
that's a major issue. Now, going about my education, I have met so many people and scientists. I found a scientist that can bond gas to a solid. So as far as filtration system, I think we should go above and beyond the filtration system for these mines. And then they'll say, okay, well, it's a cost, right? But I mean, I would be interested in diving into that because that's my background. I create performas, I create private placement memorandums, I create financial instruments for investments to build buildings. So I would be interested in looking into that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're about 30 seconds out here, so we're going to put Heather back on hold for just a second here, mute her out, and we're going to rejoin the radio. We're going to talk for just a minute about educational choice, what she was talking about, the funding following the student, what we call backpack funding. We're going to discuss that further, see if she's got some ideas on that. But right now, we're going to rejoin the radio. So please, folks, like and share this video. Like and follow the show page if you haven't done that already. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell on YouTube, do all the things on all the channels. Here we go. Jumping back into it, the Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. All right. Rocking it out a little early this morning as we get ready to continue now. Our guest is Heather Herndon, who is the candidate for Senate District I, State Senate District I. She's an independent, but I would classify her as a conservative independent. I guess I probably wouldn't be too far off on that. Heather, am I right on that when you look at
That is correct.
if I'm going to die? Because it's hard these days.
I'm not taking away your guns either.
Yeah, no, it's hard these.
Just so you know.
It's hard these days.
They're
when
yours.
you see all the candidates and they're like, I'm independent. Well, you were a Democrat. Yes, but I'm an independent, because now they know that, of course, that's more palatable to many Alaskans than the idea of a D behind their name or even an R behind their name. That could be. There's more independents in Alaska than anything else, than any registered political party. So that's for sure.
Okay.
Before we went to break, we were just talking about educational funding. And you talk about the funding following the student, giving people choices, giving parents choices. We call that around here, have been calling it for a while, backpack education, where the funding follows the student, not necessarily going straight to the school. It's the student or the parent of the student who gets to decide where those dollars go, and those dollar amounts follow the students. Is that kind of what you're advocating for? So it can go to a public school or a private school or Montessori or homeschooling or charter school or magnet school or whatever new thing they dream up. That's what we're talking about. Is that kind of the direction you're going?
Yes. And I could also tell you how I received my education is I tested out of all the lower division things, including high school. So I was taking courses at night to get out of high school in 3 years instead of 4. And then I tested out of all the lower divisions and just took what I wanted in the upper divisions, what I really wanted to learn. So you can do this too. This is not special. They started creating a program for it, but you can do it if you want to. So it's up to you what you want to do and what you want to learn. And I'd like to see it on a career path. I'd like to see more entry-level positions here for that join up to the education process, whether it be vocational school or traditional school.
Right. I mean, in trade schools, I mean, we've been talking about that, and it seems like we're having a fundamental shift in America. The idea that, somehow every child has to go to college seems to be slowly falling by the wayside, and people are starting to understand that trade schools, vocational ed, some of the blue collar things, construction and electricians and truck drivers and welders and mariners and all these other kind of things. These are the places where many kids are now electing to go because, number one, it's a path forward without collecting debt. And number two, you're seeing many kids who are going to college coming out with a degree and never getting a job in their field of study and being in debt a tremendous amount. So those are fundamental shifts in the educational system that I think we need to encourage. What do you think?
Yes, I do too, because there's always going to be a job for an electrician. We have an energy-based economy, so there's always going to be certain jobs are always going to be there.
Well, we're always going to be building things. We're always going to be fixing things. We're
Wild
always,
years today.
yeah, exactly. As far as the backpack funding, do you have any kind of idea as far as how the mechanism is going to work? I mean, do you have any suggestions or models that you've taken a look at from different states or any place else that you would suggest here in the state of Alaska?
Well, I want to take something out first. I want to go after the QC says QV money out of the public charitable trust that's there for each individual, and you determine what you spend that money on. Certainly the money that could put you in jail is the same money that can send you to school. There's nothing wrong with that. And if we pass a law for that, all I need is a probate judge and your signature to do it. So
Okay. And how does that work? Because I've never heard of this. So
I know
explain,
nobody's ever heard of it. I'm just learning about it myself. Like,
educate me and educate me a little bit on this. What are we talking about specifically?
Well, each American has a SESQV trust money out of the public charitable trust, and that's where they get the money to put you in jail. Okay, the bond money is just for the building and maybe for some administrative costs.
Right.
But I'm saying if that money could be spent to put you in jail, that money could be spent to put you in school.
Right. Should there be like a voucher system, and you think, or should it just be, should each child be assigned, here's your student ID number for the state of Alaska, and here's the forms for drawing money out of this account to spend in the school that you like. If you like going to your local public school, then you go in and you hand them the voucher, or if you want to go to a private school, you hand them the check, or if you're a homeschooler, you can, how do you see it work?
Check. So each individual will determine their needs. We'll make a list. We'll total it. We'll go before a probate judge. We'll take it out of your SQV trust money. And then you will write a check. You will say, okay, I'm going to pay this school or this professor to teach me, or this trade school to teach me what I want to learn for this year. So it's not going to be a voucher system. The government is there to uphold your rights, not to be your babysitter. So it's time your rights come back to you to determine what you want your life to be. That's part of being American.
But wait, that's the politician's disease, isn't it? That they know better than you somehow how to run your life? Isn't that what we're all supposed to believe?
They don't know better than you how to run your life. I'm certainly not going to run your life, but I am going to make you grow up and be an adult and start taking responsibility for yourself. And you haven't even been taught how to do that. So that's part of a learning curve, how you go about doing that, because we've gotten way off track in this country. They've taken your rights away. I'm 15th generation American. We were here before Jamestown. I have my patent of nativity to prove it.
Right.
So it's time for you to be in the driver's seat.
Right. Other issues of the budget, of course, we've got, health and social services. I mean, even other portions of education. I mean, the university, we've got 3 different university systems inside one university. So we got duplication of effort. We've got 53 different school districts, some of them with just a handful of kids. I mean, should we be consolidating and doing that kind of stuff? Should we be consolidating and finding efficiencies there as well? I mean, as a finance major, wouldn't you say that might make sense?
Yes, but in the long term, I think they should have to work for your dollar in order for them to exist, just like any other business.
You're talking about competing for budget dollars versus having a standardized formula that automatically
Not for
pays
budget
them.
dollars, for your dollar. See, it's your dollar when it comes out of your SESQV trust money. It's your dollar, and you're determining where that goes. It's not. See, what they do with public charitable trust, they take and they liquidate the treasury bills, and then they have this budget, and then they have all these, as Kirka would say, they have all these strings attached. It was your money to start with, and then they went and took handfuls out of each of our trust money, each of ours. It's individually.
Right.
And then they created this budget. And then the budget got so gluttonous. But it wouldn't be that way if they had to fight for you to pay them to come and learn at their school. If you were making the decision instead of legislature making the decision for you, and then getting these federal, what they call federal money. It's not federal money, it's your money. And they've repackaged it. They've taken handfuls out of each of our trusts and they've repackaged it and called it a grant and sent it to you, sent it to specific people that are aligned with their political agenda to keep them in power.
So you're talking about, again, the idea of competition, a competition breeding success, you know, giving people the option to choose so that they can choose the best choice for their situation, regardless of, you know, what the outcome is. We got about 3.5, 4 minutes here. What other things, if I wave my magic wand, I'll wave the magic wand, and Heather Herndon is now the state senator for District I, what are the first things that you're going to tackle as you go into the legislature? What's what would we be seeing from Heather Herndon?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do before the ink's even dry and I'm even sworn in, I'm just going to go talk to Mayor Brunson down at City Hall in Anchorage. So then after take my oath of office, I'm going to proceed. Now, I've been told that amendments get passed more than just writing up a whole new original bill.
Right.
That people don't want to read because it's too long. I don't know if there's an abstract to it or if that's allowed, but I probably proceed with amending what was there, in addition to getting functional expense reports from all of these not 501c3, 501 designation nonprofit organizations or foundations that is public information, and start tracking it from the budget to what they're reporting on their 990 tax return.
Right.
And then
so
start looking like what you're saying. Is it going towards, I mean, 16,000 to 35,000 per kid? That's a lot.
Yeah. Well, we're spending more than almost any other state in the nation on education. And yet I think we're in the top 3. I think New York
we're not getting any bang for our buck.
But again, we're in the lowest percentile for educational achievement. So, I mean, what are we getting? I mean, the return on investment, if you're looking at it from a business standpoint, the ROI is pretty poor at that point. So the answer obviously shouldn't just be more money. That should be maybe a fundamental change in the whole system in and of itself, right? And that's what you're talking about.
Yes, but you can't turn the ship all at once, right? You have to navigate through part of it and start changing it. And part of changing it is for voters, saying that it's a fair election, for voters to vote their candidates in to do so.
Right. Okay. Final thoughts here as we wrap things up, Heather. Any kind of final, ideas, and then give us your elevator pitch for why people should choose Heather Herndon over your opponent. You've only have I guess you're lucky. You only have one opponent in this race. It seems like everybody else has got half a dozen. But between you and your opponent, why should people choose Heather Herndon for the state senate in District I down in your district? What give us the elevator pitch and hit us with it. And again, any way we can contact you or websites or anything else.
Okay. So my opponent is complete 180 from myself. She's a flaming liberal, and things will just continue as usual. And you'll continually go down this path of CRT, critical race theory, and gluttonous budgets and more money. Oh, we always need more money. Versus me, who's 4th generation Alaskan, master's in finance and accounting. I've been here in the district I'm running for 50 years. My candidate is from out of state, and she's never had a job except working for Tom Begich, whereas I've had a job in some serious construction, doing mid-level up to mid-level high rises of type 1 construction, stick build, multifamily, neighborhood shopping centers. I'd love to redo the Northway Mall if I ever got my hands on it. And so my web address is herndonforak.com, and my Google phone is 925-276-2298. If you would like to contact me. My email address is HM_HERNDON, Heather Herndon, right? Okay. At iCloud.com. And I look forward to hopefully getting getting in there and hitting the ground running. Certainly, I'm going to and speak to people on JBER as well, because they're
Right.
part of this system. Even though they are nervous about voting in our local elections, I'm telling them I want them to vote. So please do.
Right. All right. Well, Heather Herndon, good luck. I mean, this is again, historically a blue district, so this is an uphill battle for sure. But it sounds like you've got your feet on the ground and you're doing the work that needs to be done. So we appreciate you coming on board this morning and sharing with us. Thank you for being part of it.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
You bet. All right. Well, hold the line for us for just a second, Heather. Folks, we're going to be returning here in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show continues. It is your home for common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. I'm going to throw the phone lines open up next. We'll see what you guys have to say about our candidates for today and anything else that we want to talk about. That's all coming up dead ahead. Again, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. It is the Michael Duke Show. Back with more right after this.
Your mental suppository. The Michael Duke Show.
And we're in the commercial break. Heather Herndon, our guest. And as usual, we'd like to give the candidates one final bite at the apple where they're not up against the clock. And so anything we didn't cover, any topics that we missed, or something that you really wanted to hit on or jump back to, and then, of course, a little bit of an extended time to make your final pitch again. Heather, your thoughts there. Anything we missed, anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't, and your extended elevator pitch this time around.
Oh, well, I could sit here all day with some of the things that I think we should do and have an engaging conversation back and forth. I certainly want to speak to the farmers, which is out of the purview of downtown Anchorage and JBER, our military, of course. There's many things that I want to get my hands into.
Sure. That's the important part. It looks like we locked up again here with Heather. Not able to get her on. We'll see if she reconnects here in just a hot second. Folks, do me a favor, like and share this video, like and follow the show page. If you would like to sound off, you can do so here in the chat room, or you can give us a call at 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. Heather's phone locked up there, her thing locked up there. I don't know if this is her calling back or not, but we'll see. Good morning. Who's this?
Heather Herndon. Sorry, I just lost you on camera.
Yeah, I don't know. Your audio, your video locked up. So I'll give you the final bite at the apple here. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I would just like to have everyone turn out, please. We had a very low voter turnout on the primary, and please just come out and vote. That's
it. That was short and sweet. All right. So just come out and vote. And again, HerndonForAlaska.com. Is that your website?
It's actually AK. So HerndonForAK.com.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, Heather Herndon, thank you so much for coming on board this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael. Have a great day, everybody.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on board and joining us this morning. Heather Herndon, our guest here on the program as we wrap things up. Okay. Teresa says, people who refuse to rank the red are going to be responsible for that if it happens. This is because Bonnie said Peltola is going to remain in office after November. Alaska will be a park. And Teresa says people who refuse to rank the red are going to be responsible for that if that happens. Again, we've got to play the game, folks. I know you don't want to play the game. I know you don't want to participate. I know it irritates you. I know that you feel cheated and slighted that ranked choice voting came in. I understand all those things. But the bottom line is that if we don't play the game, we can, if we don't play the game, then we're going to be left on the sidelines, essentially. That's what's going to happen. That is what's going to happen. good. She's gone. I can turn my sound back on. Was it too loud for you, Susie? Should you have turned it down? I don't know. It sounded good to me on my end. I don't know if anybody else was having problems with the sound, but sounded good on my end. All right. Bill says, I like this young lady. It would be intriguing to see what she would do with the state budget. Oh, yeah, that would be an interesting day for sure. James says, it is possible for the full statutory PFD and SB 26 to correlate, or I think coexist is probably what he means. However, opponents use SB 26 against the full statutory PFD, use it as a tool because there would be nothing left over for the government if both statutes were followed. SB 26 needs to be repealed, period. Representative Eastman had a bill to repeal it last session and was co-sponsored by Kirka. And I know several other legislators have said that they already have in the wings, they have got a bill or are putting a series of bills together to remove SB 26, which is the POMV formula for the for the permanent fund dividend. The permanent fund, rather, not for the permanent fund dividend. Politidic says, time for a con and use it to consolidate the 54 school districts into 3. Since legislators don't have the will to do it, time for we the people to do it for them. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if 3 is the right number, but I definitely think 54 is probably too big. We could reduce it down to a dozen school districts and still be well money ahead at that point. I mean, I think that would make complete and total sense as far as that goes through here. I'm just looking here. Laura says, let's try to get numbers on this around the state. Percentage of actual teachers in an actual classroom with students versus staff and admin. I think folks will be shocked at the amounts of funds, not to mention looking at the class sizes because of how they allocate positions. And I think what Laura was saying earlier was that there are positions that were teacher positions, but they didn't actually have students, but it still counts against the class size, which is interesting. All right. We got to continue here. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Here we go. All right. Welcome back to the program. One final segment this morning of the show. Want to remind you right now that coming up on tomorrow's program is Kathy Hensley, who is also down in Anchorage. She is a former mayoral candidate, assembly candidate for down in Anchorage. One of the conservative crowd that tried to run for borough assembly down there. She was defeated, but she's back now in the race for the state house, and she's actually done fairly well. She is in Chris Tuck's district, and she actually is edging Chris Tuck, Chris Tuck withdrew. I'm sorry. Andy Josephson was redistricted into the same district, and she's actually doing fairly well against Andy Josephson. So this should be an interesting discussion. She's a registered Republican. She's going to be joining us in hour 1. And then in hour 2, we're going to be talking with Louis Flora. Louis is he's not a Democrat. He's an independent, I think. Independent down in the Homer area running against Sarah Vance. And we'll get the full rundown with Louis tomorrow in the 7 o'clock hour. So that's what's coming up then. And then next week, we've got more Mike Insulaco. Sharon Jackson's going to be joining us. Cliff Grow, Jessica Wright, Rosalind Casey, Stephen Wright. And then the following week, we've got Cunningham and Ginger Bryant. And there's a bunch of a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff. And we're still booking more as we speak. So should be an interesting few weeks here as we bring in all the different candidates for for discussions here over the next few weeks. Again, just under 6 weeks right now until Election Day. And it's more important than ever that we participate in the madness that is this voting system, ranked choice voting, and everything else. And I'm just going to continue to say it. I know that there's some of you out there who are like, I'm voting for my one candidate and that's it. I'm not participating in this crap we call ranked choice voting. I think it's a scam. And so I'm just going to vote for my one candidate. Well, that is your right to do so. I would not say that it's not. But at the same time, if you fail to rank the conservative candidates, your vote is, it has a great chance of being, the ballot has a great chance of being exhausted. And then what are you going to do? Right? I mean, we will have no room to complain. We have to play the game if we want to win. Now, doesn't mean we can't change the game down the road. Doesn't mean that if we get the right candidates in there that we can't remove or revoke or rescind ranked choice voting. Doesn't mean that we can't, change some of the rules down the road of the game itself in other ways. But if we don't play to win, we're going to lose. Again, you look at all the different candidates that had a single single votes. We call them bullet voters. Somebody in the chat room, Hawk, just said, do they call them bullet voters because they shoot themselves in the foot? Maybe that's, I don't know why, but that's, you can't just do the one and done. Can't just do that. You got to be paying closer attention. You got to participate, rank the red or rank the conservative, whatever works for I'm not just ranking the red because I'm voting for some of the libertarian candidates as well. I mean, that's who I am. That's the direction I'm going. But as long as you're ranking conservative candidates, I think you're pretty darn safe at that point. I think that's a pretty good idea, is ranking the conservative candidates. But we've got to participate. We can't just sit it out and be like, I'm going to do just the one and that's all I'm going to do. No, you can't do that. You cannot do that. I wanted to remind you, I got a notification here. Elijah Verhagen, who's running for Senate seat R up in the interior against Click Bishop, they are holding a chili cook-off and dinner fundraiser tonight, 6 to 8 p.m. over off of Broadmoor in Fairbanks at the home of Myra and Richard Neff on the Chena River. And so you can go over to his Facebook page and he's got links up and stuff like that. But it's a chili cook-off. It's a homemade chili. It's for competition. Just get a meal, taste the chili, vote for your favorite. At the end, we'll declare the winner. The winner goes home with a prize. It's a big chili cook-off and dinner fundraiser for Elijah Verhagen, Senate District R. That is tonight, 6 to 8 p.m. at 2101 Broadmoor in Fairbanks. So if you want to participate in that, I would suggest you jump in that as well. And, look, Elijah Verhagen jumps on the show this morning. I just see him in the chat room. 2 calls on hold. Let's go over here and start with your phone calls, see what you have to say. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Michael. This is Bubba.
Good morning,
really
Bubba.
Quick, I'm from North Pole.
Yep.
The frustration that a lot of you call them bullet voters and what have you, a lot of us out here, I'm going to do the ranking because you don't vote, you don't give it. But when you got 300 people show up to a Joe Biden rally, and if Obama was there, maybe 400 people show up.
Sure.
And you got 10,000 people show up to a Donald Trump rally. And then Joe Biden gets 83 million votes, the highest number ever. And, we know it's not right. Everybody knows it's not right. It's just frustrating. Well, got to somehow get the integrity back.
Right. Well, look, I know that it's frustrating. I know a lot of people are concerned about that, voter integrity and things like that. All I can say is don't grow weary in well-doing. Don't just stop because you're frustrated. I understand that. If there's issues, we need to suss it out. We need to fight about it. We need to, struggle and get that done. but don't grow weary in well-doing, Bubba. I mean, I agree with you. And like you said, you're going to rank it, even though, hold your nose, do whatever you need to do. But we can't stop fighting it. We can't just throw our hands up in the air and say it's not fair and we don't want it. We've got to keep going. And that's what we need to do. Thank you for your call. Let's go over here and take another call, 907-433-3150. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Randy in Fairbanks.
Good morning, Randy. What's on your mind?
I just agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying about we should rank the red. And yesterday, Nick Begich, candidate for Congress, was on the Problem Corner radio on KFER here in Fairbanks. And he must have said about at least 2 times, I think it was 3 times, he said rank Sarah Palin second. So he's putting that out. And I hope that Sarah Palin gets on the bandwagon as far as this, and I hope some of her supporters urge her to do this, because Nick Begich is doing it. He sees the sensibility of that. And anyway, I agree with you.
No, I mean, I appreciate that. Begich has actually said that several times, even before the primary. And what I have heard and seen from some of the comments and some of the tweets and things from Palin was, people saying, because of ranked choice voting, just treat it like a regular election, just vote one and done. And I think that was reflected in the 40-something% of her voters who only ranked a single candidate, Sarah Palin. I think we've got to play together. I think we've got to work together to make this work. This idea of circling the wagons and annihilating each other is not working. I mean, it's obviously not working. Peltola is now in Congress. Do you want her to stay there? If you want a Democratic candidate, that's how you get a Democratic candidate in, is you basically circle the wagons and shoot inward. You have to push that message of ranking the red and ranking all of the conservative candidates on the card and not just ranking one. I agree with that, Randy.
Yeah, and it seems like a long time ago I heard Sarah Palin referred to as Sarah Cuda. I think that I heard that. Right. I hope she won't be a Sarah Cuda, a Barracuda, and be vicious about this. Don't be spiteful. Let's just get conservative in there.
Right.
Either her or Nick Begich.
Right. Well, that's the thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Randy. And I agree. I mean, if you want a conservative in there, maybe it's not your brand of conservatism. Maybe it's, maybe they're not your first choice as candidate. But you need to get out there and rank all of on every ticket, every ballot. You need to figure out who's the conservative candidates. And if there's more than one, vote for more than one. If there's only one, sure, vote for one. But if but at that point, maybe you've got 4 candidates and one you can really vote for and the other 3 are meh, or maybe one you absolutely cannot vote for. Maybe you rank some of the meh candidates ahead of the one you can't stand. I mean, you got to be strategic about this. You got to hold your nose and do it. Close your eyes and think of England, right? I mean, that's what you got to. All right. We're out of time. Tomorrow, Kathy Hensley, Louis Flora going to be our guest candidates from across the state. We will continue then, my friends. Thanks for coming on board and joining us. Don't forget to check us out at michaeldukeshow.com and join the Corps to be a member of the Common Sense Corps. Be kind, love one another, live well. Okay. And I agree. Says Kathleen, she says it's Nick Begich voters who put Peltola in the office, not Sarah Palin voters. Not enough Nick voters rank Sarah. I know. I mean, I agree. But again, you look at what Sarah's, when they tabulated everything and they saw that 40-something% of Sarah voters didn't vote for a second choice. What if it had gone the other way? This is not a blame game of one-way street, two ways. This is everybody needs to come together. Everybody needs to come together and do it. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming in and being part of it. I don't know how I killed the music, but I did. We're going to be back with more tomorrow. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We will see you then, my friends. Have a great day.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.
Hey everyone, it's